T.B.Photo X1.5 FX, and welcome back to another video. Well, there has been a couple of weeks since my last update, but you know, when schools are starting and parents are going with their kids to school and so on, that's when the cold virus are running amok. So yeah, I have been taking some extra shifts and so on in order to compensate for people who have been sick at work. So it's not more, it's as simple as that. So the past couple of weeks of work has been atrocious basically, but well worth it in the end. That because then you can get some new toys in your lineup. So that's a little bit what I have been doing. So I thought I would go a little bit into what is going to be in the pipeline for the future in this channel. Well, to start off with, you can see I have in the past done a video about flash and some of my flash gear, but I have upgraded slightly, as you might see here. And some will basically poo-poo some of the stuff that I have gotten. I appreciate that. You know, everybody has their own taste and preference. But this is simply just what I am using and what I have acquired. So, in most Nikon cameras that are a little bit higher end, this is the D7200, as you know, that camera that I use. And on top of it now is the SB800 Speedlight with the attached fifth battery compartment. A little bit about that later. And I also have gotten 3 of the SB600 units. Why is that? I also have the Yacht Neuro that you can see up there on the stand. Well, basically, in most Nikon system cameras like this one, there is something called the CLS. That I've mentioned in the previous video, but I thought I would start to utilize and maybe show you how it can be creatively used. The CLS is the creative lighting system, and I searched it a little bit on YouTube, and I haven't found that much in the way of people using it as per se, or I have found very little instructional material from YouTubers or YouTube photographers. Rather, I've actually found some of Nikon's own educational material, featuring Natural Geographic photographer Joe Mcnally, who uses the CLS in some different settings. I think it's both in the Nivada desert, in a high school situation, then also in a ballet school and some other places. But I thought that was a good starting point for me to get into the creative lighting system. And the reason is that when you're using the D7200 by itself, the built-in pop-up flash, and I know that a lot of people are poo-pooing pop-up flash, because it is like having a speed light on the camera, thusly it gives a very harsh light and so on. But the thing is that the built-in camera speed light or rather the built-in camera pop-up flash can be used to control the creative lighting system. That is, you can have remote flashes set up throughout the room that uses the pop-up flash as a commander. And the reason is then that you can use a group A and a group B. But if you want to expand that a little bit, if you have a Nikon SB800 like I have here, this can be expanded into A, B, and C group of flash control. So you can basically have it that the camera will actually strobe out a TT. It can either use full manual, that you can utilize an A, B, and C group and control the manual output of each flash individually, or you can use i-TTL mode and use it so that whatever the camera sees through the lens will be outputted through TTL strobes from the commander flash and control the slave units or the receivers in the East flash units to give a TTL metered exposure. So you can actually then use flash compensation on the SB800 in order to change the light ratio. which is kind of a cool thing to use basically. And also what I noticed was that the Young Newer is also compatible with the Creative Lighting system. So it might be a Nikon proprietary design from the beginning, but it seems like it has been able to be upgraded for other third-party manufacturers have basically taken to that system. So yeah, that's a little bit of the flash gear that I have acquired for it. But then also I thought that if I'm gonna do my tabletop manner of photography, which is basically going to be a little bit into macro work, I actually started to look at Tradera, which I have talked about in basically every one of my videos where I've talked about gear acquisition. So I get most of my gear secondhand. So actually, I thought that I'm going to use macro lenses for this. So on the camera now it's the 10-20 Sigma wide angle, but basically I'm going to do these in the area of focal length and begin with the most wide angle I have and moving up towards more telephoto. So the first one is the AF Micro Nikkor 60mm 2.8D lens. So basically this is the one of the widest that I have for macro work. The next one is a lens that I have done a video about in the past. It's time to upgrade that one. It's the Sigma 105mm 2.8 macro, so there we go. And then when I was browsing Tradera for macro lenses, I actually managed to find this one for a very good deal. Take the lens hood off. It's the Sigma HSM IF APO macro 180mm f3.5. So there you go. And also I'm gonna do a little bit of a quick unboxing here. I managed to get this one. The guy who got this as a retirement gift didn't really use it, so he posted it on Tradera. So I thought, well, I might just put in the minimum offering for it, and I won it. It's the Sigma again, EXDG 28mm 1.8 macro. I am a little bit hesitant if this is a true 1:1 macro, however, but it gives me a little bit more of a wide angle than the 60mm. So we actually now have a 28:180 ratio of macro, or rather the focal length. And also in the back there you can see the medical Nikon 200mm macro, but that's kind of a specialty lens, but it's still also, it is a great macro lens because it's that type of a unitasker that can go up to over 3 times magnification. So, well, basically then, on an APS-C camera like the Nikon D7-200, the 28 would be equivalent to, what is it then, 14 plus 28, it is 28, 29, 30, 32, 42mm. Then the 60 becomes a 90mm. The 105 becomes a, what is it, 50, 52.5, so 155, 56, 57 and a half, 157 and a half, and the 180 becomes a 50, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, so 90, and so 260 or 70, something like that. You know, head counting, not my strongest suit. So anyway, so that's a little bit of the lenses that you can use. So I've actually used these a little bit to practice a bit with the Creative Lighting system, and you can get images like this. Or this. So you can see that we're gonna go through and do a little bit more, work with it, and some of the things that you can use to modify your light. For the speed lights, you have things like these. These are diffusers that you just pop on the speed lights themselves. What else do we have here? Well, I know that a great photographer that I have talked about in other videos, Phillip McCordall, he reviewed this kind of a flash mount that you can put on a flashlight. So you you take this clamp it on, and then you have different types of accessories or flash modifiers that you can use for it. Like for instance, here you got a snoot with a grid filter, something like that. So you have a snoot that will concentrate the light from the speed light or light source, and you can put a grid pattern on it to make it more directional. So it becomes a little bit more like a, what is it called now? Yeah, you filter the light to go in a very general, very specific direction. So that's one modifier. You can have different, anyway, you can have different grid patterns, so they can be a little bit different in the sizing and so on. So, and you can also have, what do we have? These types of devices that are a beauty dish. These have, let's see if I can do it like so. These have pop-in filters here, so 3 posts in here that you have the filters. So what do we have? Here you have the gold one. There is also a silver one and a translucent one, so this will be more of a diffuser. Also you can have honeycomb grids that you put on directly on the little bracket as such. What else do we have? We have a bigger grid pattern, grid filter, honeycomb grid filter that you can put on the beauty dish. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, as you can see, the stand I have here for the Young Nuo, it has a little hole here with a grub screw on the side here. What are that for? Well, some of the most old school but still widely used photography flash light modifying tools of the trade, umbrellas. So you have the translucent one, white, that can be used as a replacement for a softbox. I think this one is a gold reflective umbrella to give you that kind of gold shine, and a silver one to make basically just a bounce to make the light source bigger. So that's a little bit of the modifiers that we can use, and also there are always the handyman special for when you want to do things yourself. Black and silver duct tape, so those can also be very good pieces of kit to modify your flash. So, and yeah, there is actually one more piece of gear that I have acquired that I think will be a little bit of a... I know that I've talked about that I have that Tokina 28-70, which is a great lens in its own right, and the 10-20 that goes basically almost into a fisheye territory, but I wanted something in between there, something that could be a kind of a walk-around lens that is still good value for the money, delivers good results and so on. So this one was a little bit more of a conscious chosen decision or purchase, I should probably say. The Nikon AFS Nikon 17-55 constant 2.8, and it's a DX lens. From a lot of people that I've seen review this lens, this is one of the few made in Japan Nikon lenses for DX use that is highly recommended, because it has, according to what I've been told, a true silent wave motor in it. It has a very good, focal range between 17mm up to 55. It came with a lens hood. It is the HB31, made in Japan also. Let's see here. Yeah, and this one just doesn't go off by friction. You actually have a stopper that you need to push down in order to release it. But anyway, so these have actually been the lens, some of the lens acquirements and gear acquirements that acquirings that I have had during the time off. But I think that is a little bit of an interesting piece of kit that to show you. But anyway, I think I'm gonna do a little bit then of a B-roll, or maybe I put it in the video as is, that how to set up the CLS system from the back of the camera. And yeah, I'm probably gonna do some B-roll of this. So basically what you do is, for setting up the camera on camera flash, you basically go into the menu and you go down to the pen icon and then to the E icon, which says bracketing and flash. And on that you go down to E3, which is flash control for built-in flash. And as you can see, I already had set to commander mode. And when you enter that, you can see the built-in flash. You can either have it on, what I have it on, the 2 dash lines, which means off, or rather it will only give commands to the remote flashes, but the flash the on-camera flash will not affect the image as itself. Then you can have it in TTL, which means that it will command the other flashes, but it will also give its own flash into the image, but in a TTL mode. Next you have manual, which means that you can set the amount of power output from the flash manually, and so on. Then you have group A and group B, and those can be set also through from TTL auto exposure, which basically means is that the on-camera flash will tell the remote units that you will decide from your vantage point what exposure or the amount of light output that is appropriate. Next you have manual as well, so you can have group A and group B manually controlled, or you can turn that unit off for this particular exposure. So you can have the double dash lines for the group A and group B as well. And at the bottom you have channel control, which you have 4 channels to choose from, and I just keep mine as channel 2. So yeah, that's a little bit of an overview of the light system in the camera body. And we're just going to take the SB800, and I'm going to put some batteries in it. So yeah, here we go. Let's see now. Let's see here, and it's a little bit of a good thing that they could do this flash with the 5th battery. That's basically for getting extra juice into the flash, and that the capacitors can recharge at a higher rate than normally. So if we are completely in the so if we have the camera in a normal mode, normally the camera is in the normal operating modes. The SB800 has a TTL setting, the auto exposure setting, and a manual setting, and then also you have the rapid or strobe effect. But what you need to do is that you press and hold the select button, and then you will go into the menu of the flash. And at the top you have the symbol for the off-camera flash shooting modes. And what you do is that you go to master and press select. Then you can go back with the on-off button, and the camera is now, or rather this flash is now set into commander mode. What you can do then is you can scroll with the select button through all the settings, and you can choose the channel. For me it's channel 2, and then you can go to the M, which is basically the SB800. I have it to a triple dash line, which means that it will not affect the image. Group A, which is TTL. Group B, also TTL. I basically start with everything in TTL mode, which means that I will be able to get a baseline for the image, and after that I can tweak the settings using using the up and down, the plus and minus symbols, to change the flash compensation for the individual channels, which is kind of a cool feature in this. It makes it very user-friendly and so on. Basically what you want to do is turn the flash unit off and turn the camera off before interfacing them onto each other, and then turn on the camera and subsequently turning on the flash. So that's a little bit of a overview of the setting up the SB800 unit for Commander Flash mode on Commander Flash operations. The second is to set the SB600s and get them to talk to the system. So basically what the first thing you do is batteries into the flash, and you need to depress both the to get into the custom menu setting, you press the zoom and the minus key simultaneously, and when you've done that, you get into the menu system, and then you have the Z pattern with the arrow, and basically first it says off. If you press the mode button, you will turn it on. After that, you can exit custom mode by pressing the zoom and minus symbol again to enter back into the mode that is now the receiving mode. So now the flash unit, the SB600, will receive commander instructions from the SB800. But you can also do a little bit of control on the SB600. For instance, you have the zoom button that will actually change the angle of the flash from 24mm up to, I think, it's 85mm. So you have a wide range of different zoom, or rather focal length for the flash as well. So if you want to have a wide angle flash that will cover a lot of area, you can use the 24, or if you want it more focused in and spotlight something, you can use the 82mm or 85mm, excuse me. And next, if you press the mode button, you can change the channel. Again, I think it's a 4 channel. I'm using channel 2. And then if you press the mode dial again, you will go into group. So you can change there between group A, B, or C. So in this case, this one is going to be group A. And yeah, that's basically it. So then you can just place the flashes around and do your exposure. But I think this will be a little bit of an introduction to the Nikon CLS system. And in the next video, I think we're going to do some experimentation with the flashworks. So yeah, I think that will be all for this video, and thank you so much for taking the time to check this out. And as always, this is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you for hopefully soon in the future. So take care from now on. Bye.